guys, welcome back to the Good Success Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Culler, and today we got a really good episode for you. Brandon Richards out of Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas area. Is it okay for me to say that? I know you're from Forney, but...
Yeah, nobody knows where Forney's at. It's just outside of Dallas, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I just wanted to make sure I'm not offending anybody. I don't know how serious you guys take where you're actually from. Because for us, we say like we're in Northwest Indiana, but we say we're from Chicago. Because if you say Indiana, people think Indianapolis. So it's like, I get it, man. Totally.
There's some hardcore Fornians, but I'm not rolling with that crew.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So we're going to come back around to Brandon in just a second. We got a really good podcast for you guys today, so make sure you stay tuned. If you are joining us Facebook Live, thank you so much for joining us. If you do not know who we are, you're coming by way of knowing Brandon, then welcome to the Good Success Podcast. We have a weekly podcast. We do stream these live on Fridays when we're not having events. So a few weeks ago, we had the Community Go-Giver event, which absolutely went fantastic. And then last week, we had our Good Success Mastermind for the third quarter that we were hosting the entire week. So we don't go live on those weeks, but we do go live every other week. And we're going to be ramping it up. We're going to be doing a couple more podcasts, actually going one more a week, but stay tuned for that announcement. But anyway, so the Community Go-Giver event a couple weeks ago went fantastic. If you guys want to see the wrap-up video, we'll have it linked below so you guys can check that out. We're going to have another one next year. It's going to be the last week of June, so make sure you check that out. We're going to probably be doing pre-sale tickets here very soon, so be on the lookout for that. Kevin's going to be on the links for everything that we talk about and with Brandon as well, so any links that Brandon talks about, it's going to be in the description below. So also, if you guys don't know, we have our mastermind, which happened last week, the third quarter mastermind, which went great. We got a lot of great new attendees, and our members were fantastic. We actually had it at Innsbruck Country Club, which is right in our backyard, and we got to go golfing the day before the actual event started and hung out with all of our members and everything. It was a really, really good event. The weather was absolutely beautiful for August, but that's besides the point. So our next event is actually going to be in Miami, and that is November 8, 9, 10. So if you guys want more information about that, go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Again, we'll have that linked below. We do have you fill out an application there. We don't let just anybody in the room. We do have a great culture that is centered around our core values. And so we do vet not just the value of like your business, but also the value of you as a person. We don't want just anybody in there. So we do very much focus on that, very, very much focus on the actual culture of the room. So go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind, apply there. Again, our next event is November 8, 9, and 10, and that is in Miami, Florida. It's going to be an awesome event. We're very excited about it. I'm excited to get away from Northwest Indiana in November because it is going to be cold. So nobody wants to be here in November, but that's I don't know, Brandon. When were you here? You were here in like earlier in the year, right?
From somewhere around February, March, and it was still snowing.
Yeah, it was cold. So nobody wants to be here during those months, the end months and then the beginning months because it's just crazy. So we're doing it in Miami. So guys, go check it out, goodsuccess.com/mastermind. It'll be linked below. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. If you are Facebook Live, again, thank you so much for joining. And if you are watching this post-produced or you're listening to this on a podcast, make sure you subscribe. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. So Brandon Richards, let's go ahead and get into this. Do me a favor. We got a really good list of questions here, but I want you to go ahead and briefly introduce yourself. Introduce how you know us. So I know how I know you personally when you came to visit our office for that one day. We even got to sit down and talk about a lot of media stuff, which was a lot of fun actually. But so I know how I know you, but introduce yourself, but then also how you know us, how you know Tom, and then the rest of the company.
Well, I'm Brandon Richards out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I met Tom on the Financial Friends cruise in January of 2018. So we went down to the Caribbean, and I met a bunch of really awesome people down there. And we held a charity auction for Veteran Paths Up is the name. And so one of the auctions that I won was a day trip to the Todd Olson office.
The whole speaker here.
Yeah, the Olson group section.
Yeah.
So that's how I got there. And then that's when I met you. And that's when the Good Success Mastermind, you guys hadn't had too many of those, or it was new this year, right?
Well, we had it when you came to visit us. We had only had 4 events, so we were going into
somewhat new,
the 5th one. So yeah, we were still in our first year on it. So
yeah, awesome. So that's how I know. I went on a cruise with a bunch of investors, and really that cruise changed my life. So much has happened the past 6 months, 7 months. It's crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then introduce yourself. So who you are, and then obviously we know you're from Dallas Fort Worth area, but then also what you do in real estate, and give it a little bit of an explanation behind that.
Yeah. I started, I'm in the Dallas market. I started Fearless Properties, which is the name of the company. And essentially we're just wholesalers, flippers right now, and looking into getting to everything else that is real estate related. I started out December 2015. I moved to Dallas and became a realtor. And then shortly soon after, within 2 months, I was like, no, I'm not about the realtor life, and started digging into how to become an investor. And so 18 months later, we're here, and I've done a little bit.
That's awesome. Awesome. Good to hear. So what made you, so obviously you went on the Financial Friends Network cruise, which, by the way, we just hosted the Community Go-Getter event with Walter and the Financial Friends Network. So that was awesome. Well, we're close friends with Walter, so we get it. But before that, and then you talked about how you became a realtor. How did you get into real estate investing? Like, what made you actually want to go out and start flipping homes and start wholesaling? Did you meet somebody? Did you listen to a podcast? Did you go to an event or something like that? What made you get into real estate investing?
Well, really, I think I've always wanted to be in it. As a kid, I was 8, 9, 10 years old when I was building houses out of popsicle sticks. And I mean, they weren't little baby, teepee houses. They were 2-story houses with rooms. And so then I knew I wanted to be in some form of real estate. And I didn't know it then, but essentially I wanted to be an architect and structural engineer from a small child. I went to school, but very shortly after 19 years old, I had 2 kids already. And so the school thing wasn't working out, had to go, get a big boy job. And, my life kind of turned around then. That was 1920, 2025, I bought a carpet cleaning company. So then that was my first experience as a entrepreneur. No more 9 to 5. It was a franchise that was miserable. And I thought getting into the franchising and running my own company, I was going to get rich overnight. And I was like, I'm going to make a bunch of money, cleaning some carpets, and I'm going to hire a bunch of people and then get a bunch of vans. And then I'm going to start buying houses. Because my whole life I've thought about flipping houses, really. I remember when my parents bought their house when I was like 12 or 13. It was a realtor, but she also had rental properties. I was like, man, she's got to be so rich. So,
isn't that funny? That's like our perception. If you're not actually in it, you think that people are rich because they own properties.
Late 2015. Maybe I read it when I was still in Arizona, but I ran the carpet company for about 4 years, living in Arizona. Then had a divorce late 2015, and so I was not forced, but it was the family's best move to bring me and the girls to Texas, where I grew up. And at some point along the way, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which really got me hyped up. And then I started brainstorming, how I wanted to get into it. And at that time, I was just like, well, I don't have $100,000 or anywhere near it. I don't know how I'm going to get into it. Somewhere I learned about wholesaling, and that's the move I wanted to take when I got my realtor's license here in Texas. It took me 3 months to get my license here in Texas, because I was also licensed in Arizona. I never used it but twice to represent my buddy, but yeah, it took me a year of paralysis analysis, podcasting, YouTubing, networking event, guru event. I mean, it took me forever to finally just do it. And so I started doing my own marketing, got my first wholesale um, February of 2018, and haven't looked back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a really good origin story. I love how it started off with the popsicle houses. The popsicle houses. That's hilarious. I've never heard that kind of origin story. Normally, it's they were engineers, they lost their job, got laid off, and they got into real estate. But that's it goes that far back. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've had a weird life, and I'll try to find that popsicle house. I remember to this day, and I think I even brought it to school, but it's a 2-story house, and I had the fireplace and the rooms, and I built had every single stud perfectly cut. It was
That's hilarious. Yeah, man. You got off like perfect then, because nobody starts that way. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's always been interesting for some reason.
That's hilarious.
Houses,
I expect to see that here send me that picture. We'll post it on the show notes here. But
okay, I'll try to find
it. Of the house. I'm gonna be like on you about that, because I really want to see it.
Okay.
If you have to rebuild it, then rebuild it. But
yeah, okay, that's fine. I got plenty of popsicle sticks. I build remote control planes now and use popsicle sticks, so I've got plenty.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm friends with you on Facebook, and I see all the stuff that you post, and it looks like you've been doing a little bit of traveling lately.
A little bit of traveling.
So I saw that you had I believe it's a nonprofit charity, if I read it right, that you're wanting to support, which is the People of Peru project.
Yep.
Can you, if correct me if I'm wrong about that name, but can you kind of explain to me like how that even came about? I'm very curious about this, and I know I didn't put this in the questions when I sent them to you earlier. But I'm really curious about this, because I think it's highly important to make sure that we highlight what people are actually doing with their successes, because that's what good success is all about, right? It's all about like the right kind of success, and actually taking, work to have to give, and, be a conduit, not a bucket, this whole thing. So talk to me a little bit about that whole thing. I know that you went to Peru. Maybe talk about the experience that you had there, and then, tell me what this thing is all about.
It's just happened so perfectly. And so coincidentally, I was at Walter's event in Mississippi, hanging out with another Financial Friends Network guy, at the gym, actually, with Connor Steinbrook and Mike Gunn. And we got on the topics of exotic cars and motorcycles. And he was like, "Oh, you like motorcycles?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, what have you done? Where do you want to go?" And I was like, "Man, I've always wanted to go to Peru for some reason and do some enduro trip through the mountains and through the Andes Mountains." And he was like, "Really? Well, that's convenient enough. I'm going in July. You want to go?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "Yeah, duh."
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he explained he didn't know the details behind it, but it was a Christian-based company that was getting it gathered together, and I didn't know a whole lot about what I was getting into. I knew with it being Christian based, there was some sort of mission or motive behind what we were doing. And then I soon discovered that our fee getting into it paid for one child's year of school supplies, so backpack, clothes, books, all that stuff.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, that's pretty cool. And then the guy that ran it, Paul Opp, amazing story. I mean, there's literally too much to tell. I interviewed him so he can explain more things, but essentially 18 years ago, he went down to Peru as part of his daughter's college trip for something. I forget the story now, but since then, 4 years later, he moved down there full time for 10 years and just started helping impoverished and abused children and women. And now he runs a huge facility. He's got a dental facility. He's building a surgeon's unit right now, and he gives away free medical. And so my birthday was in July, and part of that I raised $1,760 $75 or something.
Yeah.
Because down there it's weird. Like if you want to go get like a cleft palate fixed, or I forget the surgery he talked about, but you can go get some extensive surgery for hundreds of dollars and not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. So you can get a cleft palate done for like $65. And so
Wow.
that's thousands of dollars here in the States. It's ridiculous. So that $1,700 is going to go so far. It's ridiculous how far money goes out there. So I'll be doing quite a few more trips out there.
That's awesome. And are you still collecting donations for that?
That fundraiser is closed, but they do have a PayPal link on their website. And so they're a true 501c, and everything is documented and stuff. And so we can link it's People of Peru project.org, I think.
Okay.
But if anybody can reach out to me, I mean, I'm pretty passionate about it. I'm gonna bring my kids out there. We're gonna go, read all the kids' books and build walls and stuff like that. So I'll be going back out quite a bit.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we'll have Kevin try to find that link. And if not, then we'll make sure that we get Brandon in touch and link it below later on. So be on the lookout for that and make sure that you do check that out. I think that's fantastic. I have personally been on a mission trip before. My senior trip was to Jamaica, and it wasn't to the resort Jamaica. So no. I get it. I think it's amazing. That's fantastic that you're doing that and that you're wanting to even take your kids. That I think that's going to be a huge eye opener for them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Fearless Properties, I'm a little curious too about this. And there's like, I like to talk a lot about mindset, and people that I get on these podcasts. I mean, they all have a different point of view, but almost always it comes back to the same thing. It's just said differently, but it makes a lot more sense to somebody if it's said differently, that kind of thing. Fearless Properties. So I see you got the backdrop behind there. We'll talk about your podcast here in just a second, but why Fearless Properties? Now, I know you explained it to me last time you came, but I'd like for everybody else to hear this. What does that word fearless mean to you? Like, why is that so important to you to name your company Fearless Properties?
I think it's mostly because my life, and I think really anybody's life, is some way, shape, or form molded by fear, and people use it differently. And some people steer away from it. Some people use it to fuel them, and some people misunderstand it. So like my favorite quote, this one here, fear is a manipulative emotion that can trick us into living a boring life. And a boring life can mean anything. I mean, you get stuck in a 9 to 5. It could be you're not pursuing the dreams and passions that you were meant to be pursuing while you're on this earth, because we have so little time. So my company logo is the hanging man, and I love climbing, which is number one why I chose it. But I don't love climbing because I like climbing walls. I mean, I'm not fearful of heights. I'm fearful of getting up there and not coming back down.
Yeah.
And of course, getting hurt. But my life has been, especially in the past 5 years or so, more like 3 or 4, I don't know. But I decided somewhere around 2015, I wasn't going to leave a boring, monotonous life, and I wasn't going to let anybody dictate, what I did or how I did it. But essentially, the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, the fear of looking back on my life and knowing I didn't do everything I wanted to do. I didn't want any of those fears to come to fruition. And then especially fear of failure. That's why it took me so long to get into real estate investing, because the unknowns, I didn't know what I was going to run into. I didn't know, like, for example, my first wholesale, I was like, holy crap, I have a contract. What do I do?
That wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I was like panicking. What do I do? And then I got it sold. And I was like, man, that was so easy. And then same thing, my first flip, I got another contract within weeks, and now I had a little bit of money because my first wholesale was pretty big. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I don't know how to flip houses, but I guess I'll figure it out. Because I'd never been in construction. Anyways, to wrap it up, I mean, I think fear manipulates a lot of people's lives, and I've forced myself to push past it and use it as a fuel and momentum for my passions, my future, my freedom. Yeah.
That's awesome. So it's your motivator, pretty much.
Yeah. Short story in a nutshell. Yeah, it's my motivator.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. I really like that. I think that is absolutely huge. Tom, actually, we're starting to, we're actually going to try to produce a video that's like this whole talk, almost like a TED Talk type scenario.
Yeah.
But Tom gave a talk at our community go-giver event, and we're calling it the Be a Conduit, Not a Bucket. So it's the shirt. And basically he takes the conduit, and I don't want to give the entire thing away because he's going to talk about it at some point on one of our podcasts or something. But being a conduit means that you are a person that's receiving and then you're giving. So it's work and have and give. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole message here. But what he did was he had that piece of conduit. So it was obviously like there was an inlet and then an outlet on either side of the conduit. And then he took one of those caps and put it on, and he wrote the word fear on there. Yeah. Because he, the way he explains it is, and I'm probably going to butcher it, so don't blame me, Tom. But the way that it's explained is that fear can keep you from being a conduit, which maybe it's the fear of like somebody being better than you. Maybe it's the fear of letting go of your possessions because you don't know if it's going to come back or whatever. So I think fear is definitely, it's a roadblock, but it's definitely something you can completely go around as long as you remap it. I think that's absolutely huge. Yeah. That's fantastic. So good explanation on that. I think that's awesome. I think sometimes people get caught up in the name of their companies and their brands. But they think about it too long. For you, it almost seems like you already knew what you wanted to be called as soon as you went into it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's huge, because people think about it too long, and then they come up with this name that means nothing to their business. So good success. That means a lot to us. Just those two words means a lot to us. So absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. You got that backdrop back there, that awesome microphone, the whole setup there. Yeah. I saw it on Facebook the other day. You did a video, and then you had some pictures of it. It's pretty cool. It beats ours, by the way, right here. I mean, we just got some stretch banners, so that's cool. Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast. Tell us a little bit about that. If somebody were to go to find your podcast, first of all, where would they be able to find your podcast? What platform? And then what they can expect on the actual podcast when they're listening to it.
Yeah, I just realized that my lighting tripod is in the camera.
You're good.
So the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast is something I kind of wanted to do, but it was another one of those things where, man, one of my biggest fears is talking in front of people and talking to people I don't know and strangers. Mm-hmm. But I know that in this business, specifically in many other businesses, networking is the number one, or it should be near number one on your priority list of building a name and a brand and a company.
So let's park there for a second. So you're saying you're an introvert.
Yeah.
Okay, that's accurate.
Yeah.
So let's park there for just a second, because I really want to hit that, because I think you going on the Financial Friends Network cruise totally destroys that. Like, if you go on that cruise, you cannot be an introvert, period. You have to talk to people. So why is it so important to be, if you are an introvert, you need to be an extrovert when you're around people that, are going to grow your network exponentially?
I mean, in real estate, it's many things. It's leaning on others for knowledge, and learning from their failures. It's, if I wouldn't have gone on that cruise, man, I don't know where my life would be right now. Everything I learned on that cruise and all the people that I met, most importantly, really, really ultimately changed my life. Mm-hmm. That's where I finally met Connor Steinbrook in person, and he convinced me to start podcasting. And we could talk about networking forever, really. I mean, it's beyond powerful. Yeah. All the world's elite do it. I mean, it's just something that happens, I think, in the business and entrepreneur world, really.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So then your podcast, what can people expect when your podcast?
So the name, the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast is me just interviewing other like-minded entrepreneurs that are in that pursuit of freedom, and freedom to them can mean whatever. And essentially, I interview, like I said, entrepreneurs. I'm in real estate, obviously, but I want to be interviewing people outside of the real estate world, and anything from, I don't know, e-commerce, I don't know, dealership owners, anything entrepreneur, and basically just because although I'm in real estate, I want to know other fields.
Yeah, that's important. Absolutely.
We're in the middle of starting an e-commerce brand, and so I would like to learn from other e-commerce, successful e-commerce guys. And essentially, and not only for my own personal gain and knowledge, is obviously I want to learn from these people, but I want to give that to my audience as well. I believe in giving back wholeheartedly, and I've built I think a good social brand on these platforms, and I think a lot of people lean on me for motivation and guidance in a sense, and so I feel like it's an obligation and duty of mine to give back, especially since I've come from nothing really. I didn't have a lot growing up, and then not 18 months ago, I had a negative bank account. So I feel like a lot of people might be in similar situations, and then hearing a podcast of mine or learning from somebody on there, they could get past either their fears or that next step in their business.
All right. So you talked about that. I absolutely agree with you that you said that some people lean on you for motivation and that kind of thing. I am friends with you on Facebook, and I see some of the stuff that you post, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it's awesome. Some of the quotes that you post, some of the things that you talk about on there. And I do love the podcast, by the way. If you guys are, Kevin's going to be on the links. He's going to link it below so you guys can make sure you go listen to it after you've listened to this podcast. So freedom, so we talked about fear, and fear being, your fearless properties being the name of your brand. Why is freedom so important to you? I know you've hinted at it a little bit, but let's go a little bit deeper and dig some more. Why is freedom so important to you, and why does it motivate you and drive you to work day in and day out every single day?
I think it ultimately revolves around we have such a short life that I want to be able to do the things that I've always dreamt of doing and helping all the people that I've always wanted to help. And I mean, the list could go on for miles, but essentially I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I think freedom for me has a financial foundation, and a lot of the things I want to do and all the ways I want to give back revolve around being financially free. So, there's definitely a lot of selfish reasons. I want to do a lot of traveling. The world is so big and so little time. I want to be able to see it all.
Yeah.
But after getting back from Peru and a couple other little charitable events that I've done, I think I want to start building schools and hospitals around the world, and providing water to cities or municipalities or countries that don't have it. When we were in the middle of nowhere in the Andes, we came upon this city. We would just drive through random cities and talk to people. And we drove through one that was having a city council meeting on the lack of water and how to get it there.
Wow.
And they're in the middle of the Andes with glaciers around. They're still having difficulties getting water.
Wow.
And, so that just, it got me thinking, man, just a little bit of money could help them, because their money, like I said, $65 can get you a $10,000 surgery on your face. I mean, what can $10,000 do for a pipeline to the nearest lake or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Spend more time with family, and then I don't know him too well yet, but there's a guy on my Facebook named Matt Monero, and he has a book called "You Need More Money." And again, I don't want to be a liar. I don't want to tell anybody I don't have a lot of selfish reasons for wanting to have a lot of money, because I do.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to help back or help and give back. And a lot of things that were mentioned in that book, I was like, yeah, like these are very obvious reasons to me, and why not everybody? Like, he gives an example of his brother-in-law ended up getting some form of cancer and dying very fast, and his family wasn't prepared financially. And so not only did it put more stress and burden on the last moments, their future beyond that was unknown because they weren't prepared for it. And I don't want anybody in my family or immediate sphere to have to worry about money, really. I think everybody deserves a chance, and that's part of my freedom, I guess. And again, I can go on for forever, but
yeah, no.
And I want a Ferrari, so
you could get that eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, I that's fantastic. I think that I like the goals that you have too, because one of the things you kept saying that you're going to be selfish with some of this stuff, which that's totally, like, absolutely, like, you do want to be able to take a family vacation whenever you want, however you want, wherever you want, and just go out if you need to. I believe that is very powerful, but I think that it's also extremely powerful that one of the things that you even mentioned big was that you do want to, like, you said it yourself, like, this huge goal that you want to build hospitals, you want to build a pipeline for clean water to the people in the Andes, maybe not specifically them, but people that are struggling to get clean water. And those are huge goals, right? So I think the big thing here is that if you're listening and you're like, yeah, okay, Brandon, you want to do that, it's not going to happen. Okay, you're the type of person that is not going to do any good for the world right now. So our entire community Go Giver event, I just want to go off topic just a little bit here, just to show that things that are big dreams like that are very, very possible as long as you work at it and you have the right mindset, like what Brandon has here. One of the biggest theme, like, not one of it, the biggest theme at our Community Go Giver event was flipping Gary. So flipping the entire city of Gary, so that's a place where people want to move to as opposed to move away from, because the population has dropped very much over the past, since the crash in 08. And what's crazy is that we're actually making stuff happen right now. So Tom's vision is flipping Gary, and it has been. But he has been able to convey that down to the 30 employees that we have, 30 plus employees that we have, and it's thriving us. And so we brought everybody that came to our Community Go Giver event, we taught them basically how to go back to flip their communities, but also what we're doing in ours to show that it's possible to make it happen. Yeah. So that is a huge dream. Obviously, we even had a couple of the city council there for one of our speeches that Tom gave. He was being interviewed by Carol Ellis from Think Realty on stage in front of everybody. He was talking about his plans and actually what he's doing. So as long as you got plans, as long as you got goals, like, it just takes one person to move the needle and to just actually make things happen in order to do that. And I think Brandon's already gotten past that part where he went to Peru and he's raised some money for it. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, yeah, okay, Brandon, you go ahead and do that. You go ahead and build a hospital, that kind of thing. Then you need to change your mindset. Maybe talk to Brandon and get back onto this thing of, like, it's possible, but you actually got to start making things happen. So fantastic stuff, Brandon. That's awesome. Let's get a little bit more into actual nitty gritties of real estate. Okay. So you do wholesaling, you do fix and flip. You've done that for, you said 18 months. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's when last February is my first deal ever. Okay. Yep.
Awesome. So in that time period, which that's a long time period to be into real estate. Some people don't think that, but it is. You can experience a lot of things. I see the videos that you post on Facebook walking through houses and stuff like that. And some of it's pretty funny. But what is one thing that you have experienced in wholesaling that you believe that every single wholesaler should know? I think that you getting into wholesaling first was that's kind of like the inlet to real estate that a lot of people take, because it is the easiest thing to do. The risk in it is very low compared to fix and flip, right? So you absolutely went at it, I believe, the right way that most people would tell you. If you're a newbie real estate investor, get into wholesaling first to dip your toes in the water. So somebody that maybe is listening, because our demographic is very wide. Our listeners, some of them are experienced real estate investors. Some of them are newer into real estate investing. Mm-hmm. What would you tell somebody that is important to know when getting into wholesaling if they haven't even done their first deal yet, or maybe they've done 1 or 2 deals, something that you've experienced, something that you've learned that you would pass on to somebody that you would be mentoring to get into wholesaling?
I would say wholeheartedly take massive action. Because what I see a lot when I'm in networking, and I know from my personal experiences why it took me so long to finally get my first deal, is I was scared to do it. I knew that's what I wanted to do, but just take action. And then, slowly set aside a little bit of money to build a marketing plan. Marketing is the number one. It's the main vein. It's the blood. It's the water. It's the food of any business ever known to man is marketing and leads. So I would dive into leads, and there's free ways of doing it. You don't even have to set marketing aside. I bought last year alone, I think it was 6 or 8 properties on Facebook from free ads. Not ads, boosted ads. They were more of posts and through my sphere of influence on social media.
Yeah.
But, I mean, those 6 houses got me another 6 figures last year. So there's free ways to go about it, but ultimately you've got to take action. You just don't let the paralysis analysis take over, and you don't take action, really.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about marketing. So maybe if you could let us in on a little bit of secret of, how do you fund your marketing? How do you set that budget? How do you make that happen? Set that budget and then actually fund that marketing. Do you make money and then every deal that you make money on, you put into marketing, or do you actually you have this whole net income that you have and then you're going to throw a portion of it to marketing? How do you set that aside?
So one thing I am bad about is keeping track of my numbers. So in here recently, I've quadrupled my marketing. So I don't know exactly what I spend, or said I don't. So there's not like, okay, the beginning of the months here, I'm going to spend $3,000 on marketing. I don't necessarily do that. But I can remember when I first got into it, I was going all in. My first deal came through Facebook. Mm-hmm. But I think they got my postcard first, because that's right when I started mailing pre-foreclosures. So they went to my I think they found me on Facebook, and then they went through my lead capture on my web page. It's an on-carrot page. That's just a short squeeze page with some other tabs. But essentially, I'm not 100% sure whether the postcard got them initiated on the site or it came through Facebook, but it was it was a very small amount of money that got my first lead and really catapulted my career.
Yeah, but even so, like, regardless of what way it came in, it's still, even if it was like it came in initially through the postcard, but then they found you on Facebook and they liked what you're all about. Yeah. That's important too. So I think that being well-rounded in marketing, whether that's caveman marketing or digital marketing, doesn't matter. Like, you have to stay consistent with your message and how you're going to serve your potential customers. So that's really good. So what are some things that you do in marketing? So you said postcard, and then you said Facebook. You are on Facebook a lot. I see. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I don't know if I have any friends on Facebook that get more comments on their posts than you. Like that, you get so, like, everybody's on board with you, man. Everybody loves you, and it's like, it's pretty cool to watch, because I mean, I've known you since February, and it seems like you've come a long way since then. But everybody that that comments on your posts are all genuine. They're all like giving you feedback on whatever it was that you posted, that kind of thing. So Facebook is definitely one thing that you use to leverage for marketing, and then postcards you talked about. Is there anything else outside of that that's worked well for you in marketing for wholesaling?
My number one or number two, my 2 top ones are going to be social media, my brand, and direct mail. I do a lot more now, but I haven't been able to track leads down to a specific source. So I've got virtual assistants in the Philippines that do and send out all my direct mail, but they also do my cold calling. We cold call high equity pre-foreclosures, and we do ringless voicemails. We do mass texting, and here lately, I wasn't going to share this, but I guess I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was able to find a list of every active and inactive realtor in the DFW area. So I got a list of 47,000 realtors.
Wow.
And
wow. Did you say 47,000
yeah.
in the DFW market alone?
Yeah. Wow. So I knew there was a way I had to leverage it. And I know some of the big wholesalers out here say they built their company off of realtor relations.
Yeah.
And so I email 1,500 realtors a day right now. And it's been working great. MailChimp has been giving me a lot of flack about my volume. And I guess, I don't know what they call it, ping rate or something.
Yeah.
And so, but it's in the beginning, it was a high ping rate, but now it's trickling down, but I get a lot more calls from these realtors, and some of them more often than not, I've had meetings with them, and I'm up to like 34,000 emails since I started now. And I've probably looked at 10 to 15 houses from those emails. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not free, but I forget the exact numbers, but MailChimp bills you off of your volume, your new contacts in your list. So I'm up to like $300 or something. So it's $300 is nothing.
Yeah, but it's nominal just compared to what you make on the deals. So
right. So that's one of them. I know a lot of other people do that, but I'm mass email now. And so once this 47,000 have gone through, I'll just do a new template, and then I'll start mailing 2,000 to 5,000 a day. And then I'll just rain emails on them until they give me a house.
Yeah. That's insane. 47,000 realtors, and whether they're active or inactive, that is absolutely crazy. That's so hard to believe. So we have a couple of members in our mastermind that are in the DFW area, and we do know Connor Steinbrook as well, and several people that are in that area that do real estate investing. And if there's one thing that we've heard in our mastermind from these guys, is that the DFW market is hot.
It's crazy.
Can you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you combat that? Because is it hard for you to find deals, or because that's one of the biggest things that we hear about is for that market specifically, is that deals are hard to come by. What is your experience with that right now as the market's sitting today? And then how are you combating that?
It's definitely difficult. But we
don't have any competitors listening to the podcast.
Right. Well, I'm sure we don't. So man, it's incredibly difficult. But it's all I know. And so when people say, "Oh, DFW is hot," it's what's popping in the country right now. I understand it and I get it. But I don't know anything different. Like I have a buddy, RJ Bates. He's got 30 flips going on in Ohio, and he lives here in DFW. I'm like, how do you get 30 over here?
Yeah.
He has less than 15 here or something, but it's crazy. So that's kind of what you see. But I combat it with social branding and trying to build a bigger buyers list, because it's not that I don't get the calls from these motivated sellers. It's that I can't come in at a price that's going to work for me and my buyers. And so I get other competitors that have either a bigger buyers list or something coming in with higher numbers. And so that's hard because I don't know how to combat that.
That's one thing that we're hearing a lot of, is that newer real estate investors that don't know how to structure a deal correctly or paying way too high. I'm not sure if you know who Glenn Stromberg is. He's in the DFW market, but he does mobile homes investing, which is crazy, because he even says that Dallas is hard to come by right now. So he actually opened up a franchise over in North Carolina.
Yep.
To start doing stuff over there. And then Max Keller, he's in DFW, and he had been investing in Oklahoma for a while. I think he finally found his niche in the Dallas Fort Worth. But yeah, I get it, man. That's crazy. And that's interesting that you say that you've never known any different, because almost any other DFW investor that we have interviewed has known different. They've known when they could buy a little bit lower and buy the deals right for their buyers and for the end game of their exit strategy and that kind of thing. So
yeah, I mean, it is definitely a very it's a hot market, and it's very difficult to get. But I'm still making it work as a new investor, and I'm somewhat successful. So I mean, it's possible, and no matter who you are or how you get into it, with however much knowledge you have, really.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's being fearless, because he doesn't know any better. So there it is.
Yeah.
So we got a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap this up. It's been a fantastic podcast. I love the conversation that we've had here. It's been really good. So if you guys are joining us Facebook Live, thank you so much for watching. And then make sure you share this around. Leave comments below for either myself or Brandon. One of the last questions that we're going to ask Brandon is how if you're listening to this podcast, keep stuttering. I don't know why. I'm tired. These lights are really blinding. I know you get it too, because you have lights.
Yeah.
So we're gonna ask Brandon how you can get a hold of him a little bit later on after these last couple questions. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you do subscribe to our podcast. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Just search for Good Success when you go to the platform, and you will find us. So Brandon, I know I had one question that I listed when I originally sent you the questions. We're going to skip over that, because I think that we have gotten really good conversation, and the structure of this is perfect for him. So I'm going to go into the last two here. So good success means something to us, right? Like episode 100, we had our entire team in this room, and every single person on our team talked about what good success actually means to them. In your world, in your mind, in what it means to us may not mean what it means to you. What does the phrase good success mean to you?
I was thinking about that when you sent me the list, and I couldn't think of something different to say than I was going to say about freedom. Because I think in some form that they are the same thing to me. Because success means to me a lot of things. Success means that I achieved my goals. I conquered my fears. I spent more time with my family. I did more for the community. I helped more. But that all goes back to what we discussed about with freedom. I think, to me, they coincide almost fluidly, in a sense, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I love what Tom is putting out there. Be a conduit and not a bucket. Because again, I've had a very interesting life from as far back as I can remember. Not even just my adult professional life, but I wasn't raised with any money. We live in some very interesting areas, and I feel like a lot of people feel like they're stuck in those areas, and I want to be the person that helps them get to where they want to go, whether financially or emotionally, or whatever. And I think that's what success means to me, really.
Awesome. Perfect. So you got to leave our audience with one thing, whether that's a quote, a statement, a thought, piece of advice, something that you've learned, no matter what it is. Just one thing you got to leave our audience with. What would that be?
Well, we've already talked about that quote.
Yep.
So the one I leave my audience with on my podcast is a quote by Les Brown, is, if you are not pursuing your dreams, you are literally committing spiritual suicide.
Yep. Awesome.
So, I like that one.
Love it. So the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast, he just mentioned that, and we talked about that a little bit earlier in the podcast. You guys go check it out. Kevin's going to have all the links below for Brandon. Brandon, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what would be the easiest way? Don't give your cell phone number, because we had people give their cell phone numbers before and they completely backfired. So maybe an email address or a website they can go to contact you. What would that be?
Yeah. Best bet was probably Facebook, really, or email. And email is brandon@fearlesspropertiesllc.com. And I check both daily, ritually. So.
Okay, awesome. So Kevin's going to have that link below. You guys make sure that you contact Brandon if you're interested in what he has to offer. We absolutely love this podcast. It was a really good interview, very good conversation that we had about fear, about freedom, about getting into real estate and his origin story. I can't get over that, man. Your origin story of building houses with popsicle sticks. That's a first.
I'll find a picture somewhere. I'll put it up. Yeah.
That's a first for us, man. And me hearing that, because I've heard over 100 origin stories of how people got into fix and flip, and that's the first time I've heard that. So
I just for some reason always liked it. Yeah, it's weird.
That's hilarious. So Brandon, I appreciate you being on the podcast today. Thank you for allowing us to interview you and pick your brain here. It was really good, and we appreciate you. We'll have you back soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, awesome. So that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. If you have not already, make sure you have subscribed to our podcast. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Just search for Good Success on those platforms, and you will find us here. You will see this big logo right there in orange, and then make sure you subscribe to us. And go back and listen to some of our previous interviews that we've done. Some really good interviews like the one that we just had with Brandon here that you guys can listen to. We did stream this live on Facebook, so if you don't know already, we do stream our podcast live on Facebook every Friday at 12 noon Central Standard Time, as long as we are not having an event. So last week we had our Good Success Mastermind. 2 weeks before that, we had our Community Go-Giver event. So we did not stream on those days, but you guys will see them. Make sure you like and also follow our Facebook page so you can get notified when we do make an announcement about going live with somebody. So that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening in. And remember, whether you're looking to survive, thrive, or matter, our goal is to provide the tools to reach your vision. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.